Welcome to karaoke. Oh, wait. That's not what we're doing today. I'm holding our Captain Marvel movie ticket, which we just saw in IMAX at the Magic Johnson Theater.
Yes. I told him he could do the intro, do whatever he wanted, and he's like, okay, I got this.
All right.
Okay.
So, we just saw Captain Marvel. Actually, we saw it 2 hours ago. But, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. We live?
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Just making sure we're on Wi-Fi.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you have not seen the movie yet, do not watch this. Unless you want to hear spoilers.
Oh no. We are crooked. Why isn't it? Alright. Technical difficulties. Alright. No, let me turn the camera. But we're gonna have to. No, it's all messed up. Did we start over? But I already tweeted this link out.
No, don't start over.
Well, so you won't see us lopsided. Takes you back to the very first camera. It was more fitting than you knew.
See, say your phone.
What? It's not. It's just. It's not because of my phone. It's just being like stupid. Well, go ahead and keep talking.
Well, tell you one thing. If you're into all that, like, artsy, critical, hate on everything, if it's not perfectly like the comic book stuff, then you might have some issue with this movie. But if you take it as a stand on its own Marvel movie that has had the blessing of Stan Lee and a bunch of other writers, then you can enjoy it for what it was, which was a pretty good film. They definitely didn't do the big breakdown of the past thing. They kind of did the not quite a Spider-Man Homecoming level skip over of what happened. You know, because that movie just kind of assumed you got it. Uncle Ben died. He got bitten by a spider, blah, blah, blah. But no, this one showed elements of her life prior to becoming captain, prior to getting superpowers. But they didn't dive too deep into it. So it looks like she had kind of like a childhood where she seemed very tomboyish and her family wasn't really like supportive. So she just kind of struggled and ended up in the Air Force. And yeah, then she basically goes blank and doesn't know what happened to her. She's like, believes she's a Kree, and that the Kree are fighting a war with the Skrulls, and that the Skrulls are the bad guys and the Kree are the good guys. Then they go on like a reconnaissance mission, and she gets captured. Long story short, they probe into some of her memories that she hadn't. The Skrulls that are probe into some of her memories that she was like dreaming about, but couldn't really put her finger on, and she escapes and ends up on Earth at a blockbuster, nonetheless, in 1995. But gonna kind of deviate from plot synopsis and just dive right into our favorite parts. What was your favorite part of the movie?
My favorite.
Well, you don't have to say your favorite part. Just one of your favorite parts. What was one of the things you liked the most about the movie?
Oh, I mean, I think like like I think like how they touched on like sexism, like covert sexism and stuff like that, but then how like when she was like inside like the great intelligence or whatever they called him, that he kept showing her all the times she fell down, but because she had her memory back, she was able to remember all the times that she got up. And then her pilot friends was cool, and the daughter was cool, and like of course the cat was cool.
This movie shows why Nick Fury only has one eye, and it is not what you were expecting.
This is spoilers, so you can just give it away.
Yeah, no, it's great. Oh, the young Agent Coulson. Young Agent Coulson was. You really see why like Nick Fury was pressed to bring him back from the dead, because that was his man off jump. We get to see Agent Coulson on like training day level, noob, like yeah. Agent Coulson was like a legit noob, and already his character was established. Yeah. He was not go ahead.
Now I think the commercials are a bit like misleading, cause like you could think it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be like a legit legit superhero movie, as in like there's a villain, you're fighting against the villain, her powers are gonna be out there and awesome and stuff. But like as it goes on, like I don't know, maybe other people knew this, but like you it's an origin story. It's it's an origin story, so it's not like.
Yeah, she's right though. There's a big twist, and see,
even though we're big difference.
Even though we're doing it with spoilers, like there's a big twist, and like what the commercials insinuate the plot is not exactly what the plot is, and it's cool the way they do it.
But if you're doing it with spoilers, you can tell them.
Just the parts that we like the most.
But what if they've already seen the movie?
If you've already seen the movie, then this is for you. So, you got 5 seconds if you haven't seen the movie yet to stop watching.
5,
4,
3, right? Yeah.
5,
2,
5,
1.
5. All right, that's it. You've been warned. So the big reveal is the Skrulls are the good guys. The Kree are the bad guys. Now, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., then you would know that the Kree are not exactly what's up. But
what's out?
Yeah, but this movie starts off with them firmly as the good guys, but they were actually more like imperialists, and the Kree were kind of like one of the last civilizations to resist, and since they wouldn't get down, they were basically getting made to lay down.
So for those who don't know, define imperialists.
So yeah, long story short, the Kree are like going around to different planets and being like, submit. And everybody either submits or they get ran over. Of course, this is not the story they tell Captain Marvel.
So, I mean, it's kind of like the Dragon Ball Broly movie. The position that they have, like, Frieza's.
Yeah, they're basically the Frieza Force. They are basically the Frieza Force. But, of course, the Frieza Force doesn't think they're the bad guys,
Right, well, the Kree doesn't really think they're the bad guys.
Right. But you see Ronan, he's a big character in Guardians of the Galaxy. In this one, you see a younger version of Ronan. He kind of he doesn't actually get too much in the action, but we all know he does get his in Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians collectively hold the Soul Stone and show him what's up. But you know, in this one, he still kind of feels he still firmly feels untouchable in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Young Nick Fury, young Nick Fury was everything.
Heard it here first with folks. Oh, by the way, you guys can comment. I can see your comments right here.
Yeah, Caitlin's live responding to comments if you want to comment
Live responding.
with any questions, comments, whatever. Shout out to Ron if you're watching. Just met at the movie theater.
Keep going with the scene. We got one person watching.
Okay. So what else happened? Oh, okay. When she gets to Earth, she's like still feels like some kind of like she still feels like a Kree warrior who's not, you know, she's temporarily on Earth and she just feels like she's fulfilling a mission. However, young Nick Fury, when he meets up with her, realizes that this is a little more personal than oh. Are you ready to introduce him?
Oh,
we have
introducing him?
A special guest.
Oh, well, I mean, two special guests technically.
Two special guests. One has been on the show before. Squirtle.
Yes. But the other one. What's his name, Justin?
Porg from Star Wars The Last Jedi. And oh yeah, he does it. One more time. Porg kind of reminds me of the cat. What was the cat's name again? Goose?
Yes.
Goose. The cat Goose from the movie. This cat, the cat may be everything actually.
The cat was everything.
Yeah.
Because they showed the cat in the memory and you're just like, oh, it's a cat. And then when they show the cats again, you're like, but everyone at first thought that the cat was going to be like
a scroll. This was back when we thought like the scrolls were the enemy. But then, like, eventually they like one of them kind of reveals himself to be like Brother Scroll, and he actually reveals to Captain Marvel that one of the person who she admired the most was a Kree defector who was trying to basically Harriet Tubman scrolls.
Yeah.
To their out of danger. And
the other big twist was like, because the whole time you're like, what's up with the cat? Like, you don't know if he's evil or like, what's up with the cat? And then all the other aliens, like, are afraid of the cat. Like, they use a device that tells people the threat level and what the animal is, and they're like, they go over like, you know, the two humans, the young Fury and then the other pilot, and they're like, human male, low to no threat. And they're like, and then so you assume the human female is the same thing, low to no threat. But then they go over the cat, and the cat's like, well, they go over the cat first, so then expectations are high, because they go over the cat, and apparently it's not really a cat. It's like, what they call it?
A furon. It's like some species.
Yeah, and they're like, threat very, very high. And it's like they put it in a cage and everything, and then later like we see like, yeah, it's not a cat, but
it's a cat.
It looks like a cat.
It acts like a cat.
But it's not a cat. It's one of those rare instances where if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's not a duck.
Yeah, sometimes it's not a duck.
Sometimes it's not a duck.
Sometimes it's a squirtle.
Or a pork. He didn't see the movie with us, so he can't tell you anything. But he has that to tell you.
You gotta get him closer again.
Huh? Oh.
Yes.
And we're going to take him out of the box on another video. So if you want to see that exciting content, be sure to subscribe.
So, yeah. Captain Marvel highlights. What do you think of that?
What was your favorite part?
Ooh.
Ooh.
My favorite part was when she broke, they had basically a power inhibitor. Wow, it was so much like Dragon Ball Super. They had like a Broly level power, like the thing that Broly's dad used to control him. They had like that on her.
That's like spoilers if you haven't seen.
Yeah, we made a Dragon Ball Super
which we also got a review from,
review if you want to go check that out. But we did a they had like a power dampener on her, so the whole movie. Well, her exact words are, "I've been fighting with one hand tied behind my back."
Right.
But yeah. After they take the, she breaks the power dampener once she knows the truth, and then her abilities just increase exponentially. They kind of shoot through the roof. It reminded me a little bit of that scene in Wonder Woman. Remember when she like gives Ares the business, but she like goes full God mode and like flies and shoots lightning and you know all the stuff she hadn't been doing throughout the movie, like it's like but Captain Marvel's was like it was more than like a scene. Like once she broke the power dampener, she was really just rocking like full mode. She was glowing. She looked like a Super Saiyan. She was putting in work. Like the whole movie, like she can't fly, but then she realizes she can fly.
And they've been lying to her and saying that they gave her the powers, which isn't true.
No, she got her powers from the spaceship engine, which got its powers from the Tesseract. So the reason why she's so super powerful is because she was somewhat created by an Infinity Gem. So, yeah, we knew she was gonna have to be. Well, I was thinking like she's gonna have to be incredibly strong to be the X factor in the fight against Thanos. Like Captain Marvel is gonna have to be broken. Like she's gonna have to be amazing. So when you're watching the movie, you're thinking like, I mean, I don't know. If for some reason you happen to be thinking about Infinity Wars, which I wasn't, but if you were, you would be like, what? Like, I mean, she was still pretty powerful, but she didn't seem like X Factor in the fight against Thanos level powerful. But once she breaks that power dampener, it becomes pretty clear that like she could be the difference in the battle. Yeah, and they're gonna need her because it's a lot of people missing. Doctor Strange is missing. Hulk won't show up. I mean, Spider-Man's gone. Black Panther's gone. Nick Fury's gone. I mean, there's so shoot. All of Ant-Man's crew is gone. Remember, Ant-Man's stuck in the subatomic. If you didn't see Ant-Man and the Wasp, spoilers at the end of the movie.
Wait, do we have them 5 seconds?
Well, you really should have seen Ant-Man and the Wasp by now.
Oh, go ahead. Especially if you're watching this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
At the end of post-credit scene, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man goes in to try to get some essence from the subatomic field to help out the girl who's ghosting, and his people are some of the people who get erased when Thanos does the snap and kills half of creation. So Ant-Man's stuck in the subatomic field. I mean, basically everybody who was like ridiculously powerful is gone. They got erased when he snapped his finger. Well, Thor, we still got Thor. But yeah, it's not looking good for the home team. But Captain Marvel is, she's gonna be a problem. Isn't she poor? Isn't she poor? Isn't she poor? Don't scratch my eye out. Isn't she poor?
So you gonna tell him how to nip it off the bat?
Nah.
That was a hint, though.
Yeah, that was a hint. All right, so what were your favorite highlights?
My highlights. Well, definitely the cat, especially like it not being a cat, but also because it's a cute cat. How many more times can I say the word cat? Like I said, that one scene. I think the scene when all she does, she's tearing out the dampener, but when she's like breaking out of the dampener or out of the intelligence thingy they got her rigged to, like that's pretty ill. Cause like she's causing like it's almost like the which makes sense the if this was all logically as by Earth standards, but as if the big intelligence that they were using on her like the second time, to like keep her grounded and try to like get her back under their control um was like using up like a lot of the power in the ship, but it didn't matter as long as she wasn't trying to break out of it, or at least as long as she wasn't succeeding in breaking out of it. When she started succeeding in breaking out of it, like it started taking all the power surges started occurring, which was like freeing everyone and then messing up other stuff, and then so that was a cool part. Also, of course, when she's flying and then destroying all the ships and stuff at the end, like that was pretty ill. And and yeah, and then when there's like, we'll be back for we'll be back for
The weapon.
the weapon. It's like the Tesseract? No, her.
The woman.
Right, the woman. And then yeah, so that was pretty cool. It was interesting because unlike Aquaman, which I guess they should have seen Aquaman by now, right? Too.
Hopefully you've seen Aquaman by now. It's about to be on DVD pretty soon.
Not sponsored. We ain't sponsored by Star Wars either, by the way. We know it's weird to have a Star Wars thing and Squirtle and Hello Kitty and but just go with it. But oh, by the way, if you guys have seen the movie, you guys can comment down your favorite part of the movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, what was your favorite highlights? I forgot what I was saying.
Favorite highlights. Okay. There was a scene where they had to load an audio file using technology from 1995, and it was on like an old modem computer that was like loading, buffering, lagging, you name it. And Captain Marvel and the Scroll and Brother Scroll were looking like, what's happening? And everyone else was like, it's loading.
And everyone in the theater was just like dying laughing before it even got to that point because it was like doing dial up. So
yeah, it was pretty funny.
right.
I like that scene. Just the whole. Oh, there's a scene once you realize that the scrolls aren't the bad guys. There's like this kind of like iRobot moment, like in iRobot when Will Smith explains to the robot what winking is, and they have like a scene like that where the scroll transforms into a Kree, like Brother Scroll transforms into a Kree, and then like he's like taking Nick Fury hostage, and Nick is like, "What's going on?" And then cause the cat runs to him and doesn't like react, and the whole time like the cat had been going ham on like all Kree, and then but this time the cat just chills, and then the way that Nick Fury first discovered that the scroll was a scroll was he because no one calls him Nicholas, they all call him Fury, and this one called him Nicholas, and then he said like all right, so he said, I'll get off the elevator here, you get off there, just like in Havana. And I guess that's not what happened in Havana, because the guy was like, yeah, just like in Havana. But
I think that was more of a recent memory, and that's why. Because they can only recall recent memories.
Yeah, and that would have been back in the day, because he talked about his life as a spy and showed it was all in the B places. And Havana is an H. So that would have been when he was still in the military. So that would have been dumb long ago.
Continue.
You remember when he was talking about how all the B's, he's like, I've been to Budapest, I've been to blah, I've been to blah. He said, basically everywhere with a B in it. I like them because I can make them rhyme.
What? No.
It was a pretty funny scene in the movie. But yeah, so anyway, when the Kree is taking him hostage and the cat isn't bugging, because the cat has
We don't know what powers the cat has.
the cat has abilities.
The
to
cat
say
is
the
a
least.
beast.
Yeah, the cat is everything. But yeah. So he's taking him and he says be cool, just like we did in Havana, and it's like. Oh, that yeah, that was a good scene. I also like the scene where they revealed that the scroll wasn't there for the Tesseract. He was there for his family. And he kept saying to Captain Marvel, like, I can't even express how important this is to me. And you just assume that like he's pressed to like win the war for his people or whatever. But nah though. Like he was pressed to find his people.
Right. To find like his wife and daughter. Or his wife and kid.
Yeah. It was oh my goodness, the black woman's kid.
She was a little beast.
Yeah, the black woman's kid was she was a highlight onto her own. I wonder if she ends up like being I wonder if she's gonna come back later on. The Stan Lee tribute in the beginning. They changed the Marvel credit opening credit to just instead of like how it's always like all the comic books, like the scene where it's just showing like all the comic book characters, it's like all Stan Lee's cameos throughout all the different movies, and then it opens with a thank you Stan. Stan Lee makes a cameo in this movie too. Pretty good one. So
what's your analysis of the movie? And at the end, they make it clear that like Captain Marvel is gonna come back.
Yes, there are 2 post-credit scenes.
And how do they make it clear that she's gonna come back? What are the 2 post-credit scenes?
Okay.
Oh, and what happens like that leads up to the post-credit scene?
At the end of Avengers Infinity Wars, when Nick Fury, right before Nick Fury starts to disappear, he takes out a pager and pushes a button and then like disappears. And it's like, if you aren't hip, you're just like, what?
Right, yeah.
But the logo is that of Captain Marvel. And I know at least in my theater, some people reacted. A lot of us didn't know what was going on in that moment. But yeah, some people reacted. But yeah, that was, you later find out in this movie that she upgrades his 2-way pager so that he can contact her from multiple galaxies away. So that was her he was calling. Like he realized that like, oh man, like it's really hitting the fan. So he dialed her in and she told him to only call her at emergencies. So I mean, imagine, so you can, to understand the gravity of the situation, he didn't call her when in Avengers 1 when Loki showed up. Right. He didn't call her when, the Sakari came through. He didn't call for the invasion. He didn't call her during Age of Ultron when Ultron was getting ready to raise the city and then drop it and destroy the Earth and turn everyone into a machine. But he called her for this.
Yeah, and then they also in the end credit scenes show them like trying to keep the pager alive with like some super battery so that they can keep sending out the signal because they don't know what it's for, but they're like, it must be important. Like, why would he spend his last moments just sending out this signal and whatever? And but then they also show they're looking at these screens, seeing all of the numbers of how many people are disappearing, and they're like, this is bad. And then you see the thing just dies all of a sudden, the pager, and they're like, we need to send another signal. And the one person's like, but why? We don't even know what it is or who is signaling. She's like, but it was important to Fury, so we need to, keep sending out the signal. And then they turn around, and there's Captain Marvel. And she's just like, where's Fury? Like, as if she's not having no BS. She's looking at them like, where's Fury? Like, who are you guys? Why do you have the pager? Because at the end of Captain Marvel, she leaves to go lead
the scrolls to a new home.
Lead the scrolls to a new home, right? And so, supposedly, I guess, find all the other scrolls that are like
scattered
throughout the galaxy, which would explain why it would take so many years.
They definitely, the movie is most similar to his Wonder Woman because of time period it takes place, and you can also tell that if they were to do a Captain Marvel sequel, they would have the ability to do it just like the Wonder Woman sequel. Like, for those who don't know, the Wonder Woman sequel is going to also be in the past, just like it said it won't be World War I, it'll be like World War II. Um, but this has the ability to do the exact same thing because when she leaves Earth, I mean, she's been gone for practically what, 24 years? Yeah, she's been gone for 24 years. So she could have got up to all kinds of stuff within the last 24 years. So all her sequels are probably going to be Captain Marvel sequels.
Because the next movie she's gonna be in is Endgame. Because at the end it said Captain Marvel.
Well, remember the first movie Wonder Woman was in was Batman vs Superman, which was taking place in the present. And then the Wonder Woman movie, which came after Batman and Superman, was about World War I.
But I wouldn't think they would put. I think the next sequel or the Captain Marvel, you know what I mean? Like, is gonna. Oh, okay. I see.
They said Captain Marvel will return in Avengers Endgame.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Just like, Wonder Woman was in Justice League,
right,
2 years ago. But the
but
movie,
that's not a sequel.
But the Wonder Woman 2 movie will be in the 1940s or something.
Right. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, they have because they have 24 years of past history to work with.
And there was no love interest in this movie. There was no love interest for anybody. So that's just unusual for a movie in general.
20, and then once again, 24 years to work with. Those of you who know the Miss Marvel history will have to excuse Caitlyn. But yeah, there's no the movie.
This movie had no love.
This movie has no. Yeah, the closest thing. It's really I'd say a story of self-discovery more than anything.
Yeah.
And some people, you can kind of say Aquaman was a movie of self-discovery. But it was more like I think he really did know who he was and was just trying to figure out where he fit in.
Right, and he was kind of forced into it. This was like, I think, purely self-discovery because she had a memory like she wanted to kind of like know who she was and stuff, but then like, like at the same time she's got to be loyal to these people, or who she thinks she needs to be loyal to.
Yeah, that was very unique. I mean, other than Superman, I guess Superman, Man of Steel was kind of a self-discovery story, like.
But that's what came to mind with this movie. Like as we were going through, I realized I was like, oh, this is an origin story. It's like, that person just said Superman. Yeah, it's like Superman, like the origin story. Like, okay, and once you understand it's an origin story, it's better to take in, like, cause then you're not expecting like some, you know what I mean, like.
And also it's very important to like this movie is very important to like to see Nick Fury's development, cause so much of why he believes in heroes and is because of her. Actually, the whole. Spoiler, the whole Avengers concept is like one of her nicknames.
Yeah.
From when she was a pilot. So, because he was going to call it the Protection Initiative. And then he saw that her nickname for her was Avenger. And so he changed it to the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah.
And you see him telling Coulson, like, we need to find more people like her.
And you can tell it's a new concept because Coulson's like, do you think we can? So, I mean, that's the other reason I think it's important to understand its origin, or like if you don't know the comics, to like know what year it takes, even if you do know the comics, know what year it takes place in, because then you understand, like when he first meets her, he's like, aliens, you know what I mean? He's like incredulous, like alien shapeshifters. But then if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, you're like, what? How does... So unless you understand, like, oh, it's before, like, all of that, before S.H.I.E.L.D. is what it like really was, like kind of the not supernatural, but
yeah.
But you were saying it was like Man of Steel in what ways?
Well, as of right now, the timeline goes off the top of my head a little something like this. Like Captain America 1, uh the Captain America the First Avenger is like the start of the Marvel universe. And then then you would pick up to like season 1 of Agents of Shield. Season 1 and 2 of Agents of Shield. And then you would have to go to like uh basically the opening scene of the first Ant-Man movie, and then and so this is like after those happenings. This is where like yeah, there aren't many there aren't very many people with powers, you know, because you gotta remember Captain America was a serum, and you know Ant-Man is a suit, and Agent Carter was dealing with a bunch of stuff that she dealt with. So it's not like there's, you know, Spider-Man and them are running around, or not at least not in this point in the Marvel aspect. You know, who knows what the, you know, that we haven't had like a merger with the X-Men yet, because the X-Men is also Dark Phoenix and stuff is also supposedly taking place in the 90s, but or the 80s, but this is not, they're not together right now. So as far as Marvel is concerned, like this is like a brand new concept of like a person with powers like saving the day. Yeah, like at least in the world that they're living in at that moment in 1995, like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There are no people with powers saving the day.
Right.
So she was kind of like the spark that triggered that whole idea.
So what do you think her role in Endgame is going to be? Because we've seen the first Endgame trailer.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen the trailer?
No, I've been ducking it. You've been ducking it. I've been ducking Endgame trailers. But, hard. Spoiler alert.
But I mean, how's that's an unspoiler alert. Unspoiler alert. Alright, so what do you... Okay, so he hasn't seen the new Endgame trailer, even though Marvel's getting better at making their trailers seem like one thing and then becoming another. But, so what do you think Captain Marvel's role is going to be in Endgame?
Well, I definitely think that she's part of well, I mean, we never did an Avengers Infinity War movie, but me and Caitlyn had a theory at the time that all the like bad stuff that happened, Doctor Strange, this is all part of Doctor Strange one scenario in like the 15 trillion or whatever, where they win. That it all has to go down like this, like all the bad stuff had to happen.
No, I'm just laughing because if you guys watch Screen Rant's pitch meetings, but you know that I watched them out with like Ryan George, so I guess spoiler if you haven't seen that pitch meeting. But basically it's like in the writers' room of not sponsored, but basically it's in like the writing room of you know, like TV shows or mainly movies or different actors and stuff, and so it's like so it's basically a pitch meeting, but it's made to be humorous and kind of like go back and like what people are talking about, just, you know, poke fun at the flaws in the movie and stuff. And one of the things he said is like, but why couldn't they just do this? Or, you know, the presumed producers like, well, why couldn't they just do this? Why couldn't they just do this? And he said, oh no, you see, because we're gonna have Doctor Strange and he's gonna envision, and we're gonna say he's gonna envision all of these millions of possibilities and, you know, in which they win. He's like, oh, so that way if anyone in the forums tries to say like, well, couldn't they just do this? Though somebody else in the forums would be like, that's probably one of the ways that didn't work. He's like, exactly.
Because they really didn't cover their bases. He didn't say there are 3 possible scenarios.
Right.
Said like out of 15 trillion scenarios, there's one where we win.
Right. So unless you had somebody really go through 15 trillion scenarios, then like, and then get to the 15 trillion and one scenario, then like they have their bases covered.
If you also when you see the movie, you'll see a whole bunch of pretty cool previews. One of the previews is of Spider-Man, but this is very okay. So it's a preview, so I don't need to like spoiler alert. Nick Fury is in the preview, and we all know that Nick Fury disappears in Infinity Wars. So this Spider-Man movie is going to be taking place pre Infinity Wars.
Yeah, see, that's good to know because other people have been like getting annoyed if they see a preview with someone in it that they say disappeared, without realizing, maybe Marvel needs to do a better job of being like, y'all don't understand this. These all take place before that. So if you see people in the trailers, like they're not going to spoil Endgame.
Right. I mean, this is actually, I mean, credit to Wonder Woman in DC because there weren't very many of this like alternating back to the past thing while you have like big movies coming up in the present before the huge success of Wonder Woman. You had Terminator, which was like hint that this is happening in the past, but a whole bunch goes down in the future, but that's not the same thing. As being like, hey, we got Wonder Woman working with the Justice League, like in this movie, but the sequel will be like her in the past, like fighting World War I. So I mean, I think that I'm glad that Marvel's doing it because in some of the best comic or graphic novels are just like, for example, The Dark Knight Returns is about like an aging Bruce Wayne. He's like 55, and this is in the 80s when like Reagan's president, and he comes out of retirement to kind of just.
I'm just getting you some water.
Put it. Oh no, I'm good. It kind of just put his foot on these crooks' neck, and Superman is kind of like a Reagan flunky, at least in the graphic novel and the cartoon movie that came out. But that was like the story is like really good, but it's obviously like a different timeline in the past. Like this is clearly not the Batman who's doing whatever Batman is doing right now in present day stuff. So that kind of stuff I like that. And so like credit to DC for really being like, nah, it's okay to do that in movies. Pulling it off, and now that's the thing.
And also, if you guys have any questions, you guys can comment them as well. Like, I can see your comments right here. And if you guys want to see more reactions, reviews, analysis, or just other bot-like things, you can go ahead and subscribe. And you can be a bot too. And what is a bot, Justin? Yeah.
Nah, you say it.
Well, we just call a bot like a weird person.
Someone who embraces what makes them different than everyone else and doesn't like hide from it. They're like proud of it.
Right. It's not like I'm not like other girls. I'm not like other guys. It's just like, you're weird. You're okay with being weird. You don't care if other people don't consider themselves weird, but you're weird and you like it.
Yeah. And that's a bot. Also click the bell to get the notifications.
That bell.
So as you see, we kind of like Captain Marvel. It's pretty obvious. But our next
what is our next film?
Our next I think we're gonna introduce a new thing to the channel called Should I or Shouldn't I?
What's the verdict?
Yeah, where we do things like kind of like interesting shows, movies to us, and just it'll be like spoilery like this, but we'll be saying like, should you or shouldn't you like listen to this album or watch this show or this movie or read this book or
Right. And this will be Justin's show.
yeah, Caitlyn or the CaitlynBot will occasionally make guest appearances.
This will be the JustinBot show.
So the next thing for that will probably be Deadly Class. I've been watching Deadly Class without
you watched
Kate.
More than the first episode?
I vet shows for her. She well she sometimes is caught off guard by a show if there's too much recklessness. So and then sometimes I don't vet a show and it's or a movie and then it'll lead to some problems. But yeah, so this one is highly violent, but I like where they're going with it so far. I don't know how they're gonna close. So Deadly Class will be probably once the season ends. I'll do a should I or shouldn't I watch Deadly Class season 1. I have seen Umbrella Academy. Might do Umbrella Academy. Yeah.
Might do the Ariana Grande album, the new one, if you guys haven't heard it yet.
Yeah.
Or Post Malone album or whatever, or Post Malone song. It's like your alley. And then
Alright.
Then tomorrow night is Karaoke Live, Friday Night Live. Woo.
You wanna give them a Karaoke Live preview?
I don't really know what I'm doing yet. I can sing Lost Boy though if you want to put me on the spot. Oh, what's that one? You gotta translate for me. Oh, what's the translation? What's the translation?
I love Porg. Porg is everything.
So, the Star Wars movie. This is our first.
Oh, you should just sing Angel. Because you don't need the.
It's not hard for me to pull up the music.
Oh.
But you can keep talking about the movie, Captain Marvel. Any other analysis on it?
I'd probably say. I'd say 4 out of 5, which isn't a criticism of the movie. 4 out of 5, like in the good way.
So why isn't it 5 out of 5?
It's not. It's very, very hard for an origin movie to be 5 out of 5.
And how come? Why is that?
I mean, think about it. Black Panther, the movie Black Panther, was not an origin story. Like, he was firmly established as T'Challa, king of the Wakanda.
Yeah.
If anybody was being introduced, it was Killmonger. It was we knew who T'Challa was, and I mean, it's very they had to cover so much. I mean, they had to cover so much. They had so little time. But it was definitely good. I'd say 4 out of 5. The only reason why I have to say 4 out of 5 also is because we saw it with me, Caitlyn, Dave. You saw Dave in the Bumblebee review for Dave's Corner. He watched it with us, and his brother, who is like a real film buff, and his brother took issue to many of the discrepancies between the movie and the comic book. So I'm allowing for the fact that that's gonna happen. Like, if there's gonna be discrepancies between the comic book and the Marvel movie, and you're probably gonna take issue with that if you're like heavily into canon and artsy, nerdy stuff, and consistency. So I'm just allowing for that. I'm not gonna rate the movie perfect and get scorched. What are your what would be your rating? You don't have to be inhibited by the same artsy criticisms I'm concerned about. So what's your rating?
I mean, yeah, keep it in mind that it's an origin story and not really like a classic superhero movie thing type thing. I mean, I would probably give it like a, I don't know, I don't see no reason not to give it a 5 out of 5 because as an origin story, it is a 5 out of 5. Like, I guess if you're like me and you don't really know anything about Marvel. So, I'm just editing that description right now. Like, JustinBot is a die-hard Marvel fan, right? I describe you?
I'm a bot.
Die-hard Marvel bot?
Okay. So now I'm gonna read the definition of porg. Where is it at?
Right here.
Okay. Porg. Small, flat, muzzled avians that flock about the rocks and roast in the cliffs of Luke Skywalker's secluded island. Porgs are inquisitive creatures. Caitlyn really wants to take him out the box. She feels like he's caged up.
I do.
I really want to keep him in, but
well, you want to take him out for a video, right?
Yeah, one day we'll take him out.
Well, one day now it's turned into one day. Someday.
Oh yeah, don't know when Westworld is coming back. That's just a Westworld trigger now. Someday.
You can write some more questions that would answer.
No. It's time for you to sing.
Okay.
This is the karaoke live preview.
Yeah. It's a Lost Boy by Rick B. No, but still sing.
I'll be back.
No, sit here, bro. Spot. See, you messed me up, but sit.
Give him the karaoke live.
You was already sitting here, but just sit here, but we call each other but. It's sort of like our pet name. Poor people. Yes, Paul can sit with me. And Squirtle. This is Lost Boy by Ruth B.
Just sing the first verse and the chorus.
There was a time when I was alone, nowhere to go and no place to go. My only friend was the man in the moon, and even sometimes he would go away too. Then one night, as I closed my eyes, I saw a shadow flying high. He came to me with the sweetest smile, told me he wanted to talk for a while. He said, Peter Pan, that's what they call me. I promise that you'll never be lonely. And ever since that day, I am a lost boy from Neverland, usually hanging out with Peter Pan. And when we're bored, we play in the woods, always on the run from Captain Hook. Run, run, lost boy, they say to me, away from all the reality. Neverland is home to lost boys like me, lost boys like So lost boys like me are free.
Okay, so tune in tomorrow at 9 sharp.
Right.
9 p.m. sharp.
Eastern time.
Tomorrow, for more of that.
Yeah. And also, Justin, what do you think Captain Marvel was up to all this time?
Oh, well, I think that she definitely probably had a run-in with Ronan, where she obviously didn't kill him, because we know the Guardians of the Galaxy get his number. I feel like she probably got the scrolls, some of them at least, to a new world. She might have had to protect them on this new world. Something might have went. She might have had some drama with the Kree. Just from some clues from Agents of Shield that the Kree were still moseying about. So I'm sure, and she sent old boy home with a message.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
That she was gonna, handle stuff eventually. So she might even go back to the planet and get it in. I mean, she has the ability. She really has the ability to have a full on like Wonder Woman type, like the way they're doing the Wonder Woman movies, where it's like World War I was part 1 and possibly World War II was part 2, and like she's been gone for 24 years.
Right,
like
that's what I mean.
She could have a movie where it's just about her trying to get the scrolls to their planet, or a movie where she's trying to get the scrolls to the planet and then the Kree intervene. There can be a movie where she goes back to the planet, to what she consider her home planet, and gets it in and finds out tries to end it. And I mean, there's like infinite possibilities. And then of course, for those of you who know the Captain Marvel origin, if they ever get the merger, they ever get it to the point where X-Men are like in the Marvel universe the same way Spider-Man is. Of course, there's what happens with Rogue. So there's a lot. For example, when Captain Marvel shows up in that post-credit scene, her hair is like 3 times longer than it used to be. Because she had short hair in this movie, but now she looks like comic book Captain Marvel. Her hair is long. She's not like done up whatsoever. Like, she looks older, and I think that's purposeful. Like, she looks like she's been through some things.
Do you think she's been working on the powers and stuff and getting control of them?
Well, she had no. I mean, by the end of the movie, she's firmly in control of her powers.
Right, but I mean, she might not know even what all her powers are. Yeah. She didn't know she could fly.
It'd be cool if she could. I mean, for those of you who know what Captain Marvel's powers are, I mean, we're assuming that like the movie may make alterations. Like
But what were her powers in the?
Oh, and she's Superman minus frost breath, but she has crazy hands. So I mean, Captain Marvel's amazing. I mean, I didn't know how strong I knew she was going to have to be incredibly strong in order to be the X factor in the fight against Thanos.
Right.
Because I mean, we left out on Thanos basically being untouchable.
Yeah.
So in order for the person Nick Fury sent a message to on a pager to be the X Factor, they're gonna have to be pretty incredible.
Right.
So if you start watching the movie in the beginning, it seems kind of, if you have that in your mind, it would be. I didn't have that in my mind, but if you did have that in your mind, it would be kind of confusing. But then towards the end, you get it. It's like, oh yeah, like she made like Ronan, like she basically like did like a knuckle crack. You know, in the movies when like the person like when like Bruce Lee beats up some people and then cracks his knuckle and looks at the other guys like, you guys want some, and they all run away. Like she had one of those scenes.
Yeah.
But the person who she made dip off was Ronan. And if you think back to Guardians of the Galaxy 1, like Ronan don't run. Of course he had the Infinity Stone by then, but he probably wouldn't run now if he had that. But
also the cat, that's not really a cat, eats the Tesseract, and then at the second post credit scene spits it out. But because this cat, that's not a cat, like is just knows, I guess, when to do things, and like who knows.
The cat is everything.
The cat is. We don't know. Yeah, the cat is just everything.
In tribute to the cat.
That's not a cat.
All right. So definitely gonna do a should I or shouldn't I for daily class. Oh, by the end of the month, we promise. I know we've been saying this since December 13th, but by the end of the month, we promise Hello Kitty everything will be done and out.
Yeah.
My mom's birthday is March 28th. She's out of town. She'll be back on March 29th. So hopefully we'll have that done by then. Also, if Caitlyn gonna try and do some I don't know how much of that you'll be able to film, but we're gonna do possibly be able to do a CaitlynBot learns to drive segment, because you're gonna do driving school during this period, right?
Maybe next month. Probably be away for 3 months. I mean, for 3 weeks, and because I have to get new glasses first.
That's on March 12th, March 15th.
Yep, but then it takes like 2 weeks.
Well, okay. You're saying you would have to literally start that day. Well, all right. We might be able to throw in a.
But we will probably have other vlogs, because I should have a little bit of time to like do some other vlogs from like 2017. Vlogs of me like finding and meeting my biological mother and stuff, and then also tune in on Tuesdays for our radio show segment. And
oh yeah, I'm hosting Igniting Change on March 15th.
No, March 15th.
Nope, not March 15th. March 19th. Yeah.
March 19th, yes.
Yep. I'm hosting Igniting Change radio show on March 19th. That's barbaraonline.com. We'll probably go live we'll definitely go live.
Well, definitely on Facebook. But we'll just have to see what the capabilities are for us to go live from YouTube.
We'll have my phone too.
But we won't have the Samsung. But yeah, we'll definitely be live on Facebook.
Well, if I'm hosting, we should probably find a way to go live.
We will find a way. I just don't want to know if we can promise that right now.
Got a G6. Where is your G6?
It is somewhere.
So we got 2 G6s, 2 G7s, and a G5.
Yeah.
That's enough devices to find a way to go live.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's enough.
And Hello Kitty everything by the end of this month.
And then.
Right?
Yes. He's waiting on me to edit it. We have all the.
We have 90% of the footage. We need to film.
Well, like 97%.
Yeah. All we gotta do is film the scene with the blanket and the little Hello Kitty everything dance.
Right. And then also coming sometime this month after I do Hello Kitty everything will be a video on Selma and maybe a new song, maybe a March into the Voting Booth too. But it'll be a nice Selma video Selma's like the 9th poorest the 9th poorest city in the entire nation. So like I feel like I just want to give it its due piece, especially if we all go there for, the Summer Jubilee and for the Bloody Sunday March and stuff. So I want to do a video on Selma. But yeah, basically we have a lot of content.
And one of those videos will be unboxing pork, and one of those videos we named will be unboxing pork.
Yeah.
You have to stay tuned to find out which one. We don't even know.
No.
But in one of those videos we named, we'll be unboxing Porg.
So if you want all of that content or more reviews and reactions, be sure to subscribe. And if you liked this reaction review analysis thing, hit that like button.
There is another one on Dragon Ball Super that we did.
What's it called? Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
We did Bumblebee. That one, Dave was there for Dave's Corner.
We've done the Family Guy one where Peter goes to the White House.
Yes.
And then, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there might be another one, but you can find that all in our playlist section. We have all the playlists dedicated to everything. We have like Kwanzaa vlogs and just a Christmas vlog and we have a bunch of stuff.
And tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, karaoke live.
Yeah. And Tuesdays, as Ignite Night and Change Radio Show, and I have my segment at 12:45 p.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday. My Sound the Alarm segment, which will eventually also be adapted into a little mini show skit thing for the channel. And eventually, meaning hopefully sooner rather than later.
Don't know if it'll happen by the end of this month. But
Yeah,
whenever you finish the Laws of Human Nature, you might be able to do a book review on it.
Yeah, well, we should be able to do a book review.
Why don't you give the karaoke live outro?
That's so weird.
I mean, it's the same concept. Thanks for all the views.
Oh, do you want to sing it? Do you know it?
No.
Do you know it?
Thanks for all the views.
You know it?
Thanks for all the commenting that you do.
Oh my gosh. Alright. Thanks for all the views. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for all the comments and that you've done.
It's karaoke live.
I know, but it's not karaoke live. I hope you had a good time.
Tomorrow is another one.
There's that.
And then a flop.
Why aren't we doing a flop?
Do a flop.
Okay, then you gotta do it with me then.
Okay.
Alright. If you want more weirdness, 3 people are still watching that crazy sales. Hold on. Nope, wrong button. Nope. And this.
Alright, I'm getting ready to flop. You ready?
I'll kill you. Okay, ready? 1, 2. It's not rotating. Botsy out.